This week, the third executive axiom that I want to talk about is, and I went through many names trying to come up with something, but control belongs to the worker. And I came up with names like workers make decisions on their own work, employees making decisions on their own work. I had many derivations on this. So I finally landed on control belongs to the worker. And I want to emphasize one thing, and that is I'm talking about more the frontline worker because that's the one everybody seems to, because they're paid less, which they shouldn't be, different video, but they are the ones that typically are interacting with customers other than sales, and they are well paid usually. Um, so, it would, to some degree, it should be obvious, but it's one of the things I see almost in every organization I go into is executives cannot give up the control. So they want to make decisions about what the frontline worker is doing and kind of dictate to them, do this, follow this, here's this policy, here's this rule, here's these measures. So they're constantly coming up with new things for frontline workers to follow. And my system is completely different around this. You, as an executive, more your job is to enable those frontline people, no matter where you sit, even if it's not a line thing. If you're sitting in an IT or finance or HR as an executive, your focus really needs to be on how do I enable these people that are on the front line interacting with customers every day. And it's a real struggle. I'm not sure why. Maybe I've been doing my system for a long period of time, and control is not that high on my list of things that need to be accomplished as an executive. But a lot of executives, even though they sometimes mouth the words, are constantly coming up with the new IT system, new customer measures. We're going to redesign the organization, how the frontline people interact and work, and all these things. And these are just not things that executives, I'm not going to say they shouldn't be involved in them, but they should be left to the people on the front line. Now, I'm not talking about a new person. I get this. I don't know why I get this question. But it's not somebody new that's in training, right? Because they're still learning about your company and the system and those types of things. But I have emphasized before in previous videos that new employees do have valuable input you want to listen to. What are you seeing? What's hard for you? Why they're going through training, or why they're doing the work, however it is that you go about getting your new employees on board. So, this whole concept of control belongs to the worker is also not only challenged by executives, but it's also challenged by people in IT, especially IT. HR is up there, finance, because, again, the frontline workers are often viewed as, well, this isn't the only reason, but they're often viewed as, well, they're low on the totem pole, and I'm IT and I'm paid a lot of money to do what I do, so it's okay for me to impose my will upon the frontline worker, and this always ends in tragedy. Whether it's IT or finance or HR or any other ancillary group that's a supporting group, and I need to emphasize that word, there's supporting groups there to enable the people on the front line and to stay out of the decisions on some things. Now, do they bring things to the table and say, hey, I've got this? But it's a question, not a statement, that you should be asking people on the front line. And, there are so many benefits to this. And it is, I'll admit, I've worked with organizations just couldn't get get through the loss of control, and so we parted ways. I mean, that's just, control. Many cases is what executives believe that their job is, and I have a different definition. That is that an executive's job is to enable, and that IT, finance, and HR is to support and work with the people on the front line. And this increases the value of the people on the front line too. If you're engaging them correctly, they can do a lot of wonderful things I'll talk about here in just a second. But think about it, with all the difficulty organizations are still having with engagement in their organizations, getting their they're just not engaged, and there's all types of surveys out there on, engagement has to be addressed, and it does enhance your job satisfaction as an employee when you can make decisions about your own work. And the other thing you get out of it, and this is probably one of the big messages, is the knowledge that's gained from the people on the front line when you let them make the decisions. Now they got skin in the game at that point. Their mind's working as opposed to constantly shoveled the new whatever it is. Like I said, the policy, the rules, the measures, the design of the work. These are all things best left in the hands of the people on the front line. I didn't say that you shouldn't be involved and understanding, but it should be more of what barriers can I remove to make your job easier, as opposed to here are 60 new things I want you to do. So getting that knowledge, to me, is part of the system that I build, for a longer term, which is, people go out, and I think I talked about this either last episode or the episode before, but they'll have a strategic plan they do once a year, and then it sits on the shelf and those types of things. Well, I build what I reference as a dynamic strategic plan. That means that with constant feedback from customers, you've got innovation pipelines working, so you've got this very proactive system that you're building to allow a strategic plan not to become something that's static, that it's very dynamic in nature. And the frontline employee is a key part of this. And in order to do that, they have to have deeper knowledge of how the system is working than just answering the phone or making a sales pitch or whatever it might be. So it fits into this kind of longer term thing I do with organizations, which is developing a dynamic strategic plan, and frontline employees are a huge part of that, because they will feel when things change much more quickly than executives will get on a report 6 months down the road when they finally figure it out. And if you've got them, they're seeing what's happening, then you have a huge advantage, and it fits into, boy, we here's what we were planning on doing, but and I've said this before, but it's the Mike Tyson thing, everybody has a plan until they're punched in the face. So it's developing your frontline workers to be a integral part of your organization to help you build something more dynamic and more proactive within your organization. So that's what I wanted to talk about this week. And remember, there is always a better way.